Hey everybody, I'm back. I'm live. There was some technical difficulties, but I never give up. So this is John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope. Also the CEO of Bryant Group Ventures. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman and a philanthropic investor in my communities. If you're sign on below. Put your comments there. I will respond to all your comments just as soon as this video is over. If I can see your comments as they show up, I'll try to mention your name or mention what you have to say. I see people are already signing on. This is going to be a very special presentation. I'm going to do two videos tonight. This is the first one. So first of all, just to be clear, I'm the author of that book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path of the Middle Class, the Solution for the 100%. There's another book called Love Leadership, The New Way Leading a Fear-Based World, and there are some other books, but those are the two that I'm using as guideposts for a lot of our conversations. So I'm in Atlanta, Georgia today, and I was thinking back before, Operation Hope is responsible for a lot of economic activity. I'm really proud of it. We just moved to Atlanta, $2.5 billion invested in inner city and underserved neighborhoods, 2 million plus clients. Really proud of that. Came from my childhood as an entrepreneur, a lot of the lessons that we teach. But there's some stories growing up in my neighborhood that may not be so positive, but I think are pretty cool. Like I drove around in a Cadillac. When I was in high school, it was like my fifth car, and I paid for it myself. But it was a Cadillac Brougham, and it had Vogue tires. My African American friends will have to explain to my white friends what Vogue tires mean. It had Vogue tires and chrome wire rims, right? And had I think they call them, it wasn't gangster panels, but there were panels on the back end of the fenders inside the wheel wells, and it was a 4-door. And I drove that car to high school, and I polished it every day. I was so proud of it. And Cadillac for a long time was really a beacon of success. It was an aspirational beacon in the African American community. Where did that come from? Was that just us just being cool and profiling? Did that matter at all? Let me tell you a story from my book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism. So in 1928, General Motors, which manufactures Cadillac, was having serious financial troubles. This is right before the Great Depression. And the division that was giving them the most grief was the Cadillac division. And they had gone from selling 46,000 Cadillacs to a couple years after the Great Depression, they were selling like 4,600 Cadillacs. So sales dropped by 70% overnight. And so they brought in a guy named, I think it was Dresden, I think is his name. If I mispronounce his name, it's German, I apologize. I'm doing it by memory. But they brought him on, the board of directors brought him on to figure out what was going on. And I'm make sure I understand this properly. This guy was mainstream, Caucasian. So I want you to understand, not everybody is against you if you happen to be African American, who is of a different color. Sometimes they're actually your friend and your partner. So anyway, this story is very inspiring. This guy in 1932 goes to check out Cadillac, and he finds out, yes, it's not doing well. But then he's going to dealerships and service departments. He doesn't see anybody who's of color working there or buying cars. But when he drives down the street, he sees black people, black professionals, doctors, lawyers, whatever, driving Cadillacs. He can't figure this out. So he goes back and he finds out there's a policy. There's a corporate policy in place to not sell Cadillacs to African Americans, because Cadillac wanted to be a prestige brand in the 1930s, and they thought, wrongly, that selling them to African Americans was a bad idea. They wanted a prestige brand. So what did black folks do? Doctors, lawyers who wanted to be successful, over it, around it, through it, gonna get to it. We found a way to get our Cadillacs anyway. We got white straw buyers. Can't make this up. Black professionals got successful people, entrepreneurs got white straw buyers to go and purchase the Cadillacs for them. Isn't this great? 1932. Over it, around it, through it. We didn't get mad. We wanted our Cadillac. We was going to get to it. So we wouldn't purchase the Cadillac. And so this guy, Drysdale, I think his name, I'm really butchering his name. I'll just call him the guy. He goes back to the board of directors and tells them what he found. And he convinces them that this is a backwards policy. And the board of directors rescinded the policy. And I give them credit for that. They rescinded the policy. And not soon after that, sales of Cadillacs surged. Not only did he agree to sell Cadillacs to African Americans, they put African Americans in as salesmen in the showroom. And then he went and pushed more to get African Americans in the service departments and throughout the company, so that it reflected the values of people they're trying to sell the car to. Well, the sales just went right through the roof. Now, this 1930 is the Great Depression. Everything is crashing. Nobody's buying anything. But brothers and sisters, African Americans, surged Cadillac sales, hold on, 70% by 1936. So right through the Great Depression, we actually literally drove General Motors into a more prosperous situation. And really, African Americans kept Cadillac alive for what, 40 years after that? I mean, I was driving around a Cadillac in 1980, and you know, I mean, and then black folks found Mercedes and then switched from Cadillac. There's still a lot of brothers driving Cadillac, but Cadillac was our ride, right? In the 50s, 60s, 70s. That was the way you knew you were successful. So here's a story of where green championed black, white, red, brown, and yellow. It didn't matter. We were the buyers. They wanted us to be customers. Some smart guy from Germany figured it out and convinced the board of directors they did the right thing, and we were good to the company. The company was good to us. But I'm not sure how good we've been to ourselves. What do I mean by that? There's a report by Nielsen that's just out. Actually, was out last year to show that our buying power, African American buying power, is $1.2 trillion today. That's a T. $1.2 trillion today. In 1990, it was 360 billion. So it's more than triple, right? In 1990, it was 360 billion, and now it's 1.2 trillion, and it's growing, right? GDP for the whole United States is only 17 trillion. So we are spending a lot. But the question is, what are we owning? Are we owning homes? Are we owning stock? Are we owning insurance policies? Are we owning businesses? Are we owning assets that are not on our... I'm not going to say it, right? But you can figure it out. Or are we just profiling, right? And I think that we can, transition and create a new civil rights movement. My friend John Rogers at Aerial Management has a whole report he's done on African American buying power, and it shows that we are less than 10% of our mainstream counterparts. This is based on choices we're making about what we want to buy, but people are targeting us while we are doing whatever, right? So I did another video that some people got all flustered about, talking about 500 credit score neighborhoods. Now, so if folks are targeting us on the aspirational side, on the affluent side, you don't think they're targeting us in poor neighborhoods? Hello? And it's not just, this is not a black thing, okay? There are more poor whites in America than poor anybody else. Let me let that sit in for you for a while. In fact, that's who Donald Trump is playing the emotions off of, are high school educated white men who believe, rightly so, that the Industrial Revolution stepped away from them 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and they believe their economy is the fault of somebody. They want to blame it on people of color. It's not true. We just need to reimagine the economy in those small towns. But he's playing on, it's not even about Donald Trump, he's playing on the emotions and the fears of folks who are economically insecure. So let me give you a couple of drop the mic stats, and I'm going to end this one. Stats. There are more check cashers in America than there are Starbucks. There are more payday lenders in the state of Alabama than the entire nation combined. So if you want to find problems in our neighborhood, in America, whether it's white rural or black and brown urban or outside of a military base of all races, here's what you see. A check casher next to a payday loan lender, next to a title lender, next to a renting rim store. They're renting rims. They're renting the 20-inch rims with spinners. They're renting rims now. It's driving me crazy. Next to a liquor store, check cash, next to a payday loaner, next to a rent-to-own store, next to a title lender, next to a liquor store, and they're all feeding on a depressed state of mind in a 500 credit score community. People who didn't get the memo on free enterprise and capitalism, don't understand they're financially illiterate, and don't know that people are preying on them, $1 trillion industry preying on people with a 500 credit score. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of it. And I want to strike a movement to take our lives back. Harriet Tubman once said, I can save, people were applauding her for saving slaves. Thank you very much, Harriet Tubman. She said, well, I would have saved many more slaves if we'd only known we were slaves. We can't just keep buying stuff. We can't just keep buying $500 sneakers or $100 Air Jordans, and we don't have an investment account for our children. We should be renting a home in some fancy apartment uptown, and we don't own a modest home for our family at downtown. Because home ownership, anyway, when you rent, you're basically paying off somebody else's mortgage. When you own a home, you're paying off your own mortgage. I'm going to do a whole piece on free enterprise. I know that people say, oh, the heck with free enterprise, but you're just wrong. Okay? I mean, you're just wrong about that. As the Bible says, money is not evil. It's the love of money that's evil. In fact, we can use free enterprise to set ourselves free. We're not going to start buying stuff, obviously. So you might as well turn a negative to a positive. Or to quote a friend of mine, Kevin Ross, when you're being run out of town, get in front of the crowd and make it like a parade. This is the civil rights movement. This is straight talk. John Hope Bryant talking to you straight, unbought and unbossed, and I hope you're enjoying it. I will answer the comments post. It looks like we have biases to pay for the liabilities you want. Brian Sanders, LaShonda Anderson. The black community doesn't know or practice generational wealth or community growth. Not yet. Conchita Jackson. Hi, John. Conchita Wright. I'm starting over, so I need to get knowledge on getting capital. Or starting. Go to Operation Hope. Find an office near you. Glad to help you. Tim Ford. Gary Chapman. Are you from Detroit? No, I'm not from Detroit. I'm from Compton. But we are opening 100 offices by 2020 in Detroit. I'll be back in Detroit giving a speech on Friday, by the way. Okay, so this has been long enough. I'm going to let you guys go. I have one more message for you for the evening. I hope you're enjoying this. We're at over 3 million views. This is crazy. For the Civil Rights Movement, Straight Talk. I hope you're enjoying it. We're about to spark a real movement here that's not just talking about civil rights successes in the streets. That's important. I wouldn't be here without civil rights. But we also need to be talking about civil rights in the suites. Let's take our lives back right now. Peace out.